Okay, let's do this. All right. Hey, y'all. Welcome to AfterCut, a series about post-processing and processing post. I was clever, and when I thought of that line, I should keep saying it so that you think I'm clever too. This is the whole point of streaming. So welcome to today's stream, to today's episode of AfterCut. Today we're doing photo editing, and we are going to be doing a bunch of photos from the solar eclipse last week on the 8th, which is going to be an interesting mix because we'll talk about it. We'll talk about why. But let me get through this introduction. Few various things to talk about and try to remember how this spiel works. First, my name is Eric. I will be your host, your photographer, your editor. I'm also a film director, a screenwriter, cinematographer, and film editor as well, which is another type of stream we do on here. And the reason that I do these streams and that I share this with you for several reasons. One, I think that the actual artistic process is vastly underrepresented in media these days. I think there is so much that goes into creating art, whether it be fictional or nonfiction or whatever medium you choose, that just we ignore. We ignore the mistakes. We ignore the rough patches. We ignore the this isn't quite what I want it to be, the imposter syndrome, all of the stuff that comes with it. We see the final version on Instagram or Vero or whatever, and then it's like, oh cool, that's it, it's done. And there's so much more to it than that, and that mindset of it has to be perfect because I saw it perfect on an app is I think hurts artists just across the board. So I do this to share my work, to share my process, whether it's good, whether it's bad. There's reasonable people can disagree, but it is uniquely mine, and I share this to share my process with you so that maybe we can all get inspired to create art together. So by all means, should there be a moment where you have questions or comments or thoughts about something that I'm working on or a decision I've made or whatever, please, by all means, share your insights, share your thoughts. I would love for this to be as much of a dialogue as we can make it, given the format that we're in. So that's the first reason that I do this. The other reason I do it is because, kind of secondary, the editing process for things is so hugely important in especially today's age, where almost everything is shot and edited digitally. There's a huge wealth of possibilities there that get often overlooked, and I feel like need a little more of a celebration. So I do this for that reason, and also to maybe if you're a photographer, maybe this in some way opens up a part of your mind to a type of editing you hadn't done, or to some possibilities of editing. So we do this for that. And following along with that, this opening is actually more like structured than it's ever been in the past. Following along with that, if you are an artist, if you're a filmmaker, a writer, a painter, if you spend any part of your day creating art, if you bake, if you create really, really just sick cupcakes, please, by all means, drop your links to your site and your art and everything in either the live chat or in the comments if you're watching this after the fact. As much as this is my platform, I would like it to be shared. So if you would like to show the awesome people watching, of whom you are one, the awesome stuff that you do, so that they can enjoy it as well, by all means, please share that. That is welcome and invited. And finally, before we jump in, you can always, if you like any of the photos that I edit, if any of the photos you've seen me edit, if you're inspired to go to my website and check out some of my work there, and you are interested in ordering a print or ordering, an acrylic or a glass piece, please feel free to do that. You are more than invited. Additionally, we still have postcards. Haven't plugged these in a while, but yeah, we have photo postcards with some of my favorite spots in and around the U.S. and they are, you know, fully functional postcards. You can mail them to people, and they've got a cool little QR code on them, so that whoever receives it can scan that and can add their postcard and their kind of location to a map, and we'll be able to, over the years, build up and see kind of where all the postcards have gone. So if that's a thing you're interested in, you can also contact me about that. So all of that's on my website, or just, you know, find me on Instagram at Checker Liar or at Twisted in Nature, and we will you know, we can talk about that there. Okay, that having been said, let's go ahead and look at Lightroom here. So Adobe Lightroom. If you are new to photo editing, this might be a new program to you. It's not Photoshop. It's a slightly, Photoshop is a little more graphic design. Lightroom's a little more photo, photo editing. Though everything I can do in here I can do in there, and it comes down to preference, and that's probably true for any photo editing you're going to be doing. Almost probably decent chance any software you have can do something similar to this. Do not get caught up in, I don't have the equipment, I can't pay for it. Adobe's a nightmare when it comes to monetizing. Just edit with what you've got. What you have is better than anything you could be waiting and holding off on doing what you've got now is going to be better than waiting until you have enough money to buy the correct one. Ignore that. So here's the goal for today. I've edited one photo from this series, and it is this. This is the first photo from the series I've edited. It is so far one of my favorite photos I've ever taken. We'll talk about how it happened this way. But today we are basically going to dive into driving ourselves completely crazy and see how many photos of this we get through. This might be a 20-minute stream. This might be a 2-hour stream. But diving in and trying to find as many ways as we can to edit various photos of the Eclipse. Almost all of them are similarly designed with varying bits of brightness to them. So we're gonna play around. We're gonna see what we get. And one of the reasons I'm choosing these photos, partially because I'm really excited for them, but also because I was not in the path of totality. I did not, travel to Texas or to anywhere else that was getting that full eclipse. So the reason I'm doing this is because I think it's important. We're inundated with photos of the eclipse where it's the perfect totality, or the Bailey's beads, I think is what it's called, where you've got the mostly ring with mostly dark, or just mostly the dark center with the ring, and then a little bit of brightness around the edges. Which, fun fact about that, the reason you're getting those the reason those bright pops appear where they do is because those are the mountains on the moon's surface letting light through or blocking light. I found that out recently. I think that's so cool that not only is it is it it's a cool image that it's the diamond ring look, where it's almost a fully perfect circle but has a few spots that look like gems coming through. But the reason for that is because of the huge mountains on the moon's surface having an impact on the sunlight. I think that's awesome. But I want to do these photos because it's, again, you don't need to have gone on a trip to any place that's having the totality in order to create gorgeous photos of the eclipse. You don't need to, you just need to be where you are, take the photos that speak to you, and there you go. I've talked for 12 minutes. Not totally 12, but I've talked for a while. Let's get into actually editing. So we're going to start with this photo. Actually, take it back. Let's start with one that's more basic. Let's start with one that just has, where I'm not doing anything fancy, and I just have the actual eclipse. Let's start with that. I think, is this one that one? This one's that. Okay, so we'll start with this. A little hazy. Actually very hazy, but we'll start with this. Let's look at this one. That one's better. That one's a lot sharper. We're going to work on this one. 1 star to highlight that I want to work on it. Okay, so let's see. Usual thing. All right, so this photo is highlights only. Almost highlights only. If I bring up the blacks, yeah, there is nothing else in those shadows. If I go up here to my clipping mask, yeah, there's no anywhere that's bright blue now, there is no information. It is too dark. If I crank up the exposure, yeah, all the way up, we're getting, it's tons of grain in there. All we're getting, everything else is too dark to do anything with. That's fine. We're going to play with that. All right, first things first, I want to adjust my crop, which I will then probably readjust later on. I've been kind of digging the 5x4, yeah, the 5x4 aspect ratio lately. Mostly, not sure why, honestly. I've been doing a little more portrait photography, and portraits are a little more lean a little harder into that, because you kind of, you like having the 8x10, and it's like, this is, if I did this vertically, this is as big of a file as big of an image as Instagram will let you do vertically. So like, yeah, something like that. I actually kind of like it there. It's off center. It gives me a little bit of something. Yeah, I like that. It's always a fascinating, the art of composition and cropping, I think, is so fascinating. All right, so let's play. All right, so highlights. Yeah, that's all that. We know what those do. It's brightening and dark. Let's see what happens if I play with texture. And we're going to zoom in a bit to take a look at this, because that is cool. I'm going to zoom in even more. I don't know. All right, so there's some texture that's like the usual grain in a photo like this. What was I shooting at? My ISO was at 100, so it's very low grain, and like adding textures give me something. But there's some details in that I think might be like details in terms of just the sun's surface. Might be wrong. Couple dark spots there, a little bit of brightness up there. I don't know, might be a thing. Okay, so that's what texture does. Let's pull back to like 50% so we can see kind of the whole thing. Let's play with clarity. Hey, for once in our lives, clarity does nothing. Almost nothing. Clarity just kind of sharpens or softens. Okay, that makes sense. What does dehaze do? Dehaze is usually my go-to for being weird. There's not enough information to do anything with it, so we're going to crank that up. Okay. Yeah, weirdly, I think texture is going to be where it's at, because that's giving us some interesting detail there. This first one's going to be basic. This first one's going to be real easy. What happens if I crank the saturation or the vibrance? What do I get? That's kind of cool. I feel like that might be pushing a little bit beyond the bounds of manipulation. That might be a little bit of like, that was not really there, but I'm playing with it. But I don't know. We'll come back to color. We'll come back to color in a second. If I bring the highlights down a bit, and you can see up here on the histogram, if you're curious what the histogram is basically, it's got these 5 little panels here, and you can sort of see them lighting up as I click around. And that is blacks, shadows, exposure, highlights, and whites. And I can technically edit from here. I can adjust if I click and drag. You see down below, I'm adjusting the blacks. I don't need to do that. We're gonna undo. But also I can sort of see. Okay, so my greens. There's no green in this. The greens are all back here in the darkness. But my reds and my yellows and my blues are kind of hanging up on the cusp of exposure and highlights, and that's kind of okay. If I wanted to bring up the highlights, I could do that. If I wanted to bring them down, I think honestly they're fine where they are. Whites, could bring them down a little bit and get a little more detail, but I'm not sure I want to. What happens if I bring up the shadows? Actually, bringing the shadows down is leaning into a little more of that texture, which is quite nice. So bring the shadows down. If I bring the blacks down, just kind of vignettes it a little bit on me, which isn't bad. It's not a bad thing. This isn't a super captivating image. It's a good one. It's a good warm-up image, which I'm gonna just go on about for too long, because that's what we do here. Welcome to the channel. We could push it to aggressive colors, just again, a little bit of fun. Shelby Lynn, there's your purple moon. I'm gonna give you a moment to enjoy that. Okay, now it's going away. And we can do the same thing, pushing it to blue, pushing it to gold. Pushing it to gold is kind of cool because it gives you a little more of that sunlit thing that you don't usually get. Again, reminding us this is the sun, not the moon. Pushing it to blue has something like that's not. I don't think it's too bad because it does kind of give you that. I feel like it pulls out a little bit of the detail in there, and it's right on the line of going too far and turning it into the moon is made of blue cheese. But I think I'm gonna push this a little toward gold, just a bit, and kind of let it live. No, I take it back. I'm gonna leave that alone. Okay. I'm fine with this for now. Let's come down to our color sliders and just play for half a second. Reds. All right, we're going to zoom in on this because I can't really tell. That's the thing about photographing the sun, and that's why, Shelby Lynn talking about the rainbow you saw in the other photo, which we're going to see again. I bring up the orange I like. It gives us a rim around the edge, and I'm a fan of that. I think yellow will probably do the same. Yep, yellow gives us a little bit more of that rim, which I do really like. That's pretty. But yeah, Shelby, the reason you saw the rainbow, and that's one of the things that makes these photos of a solar eclipse more unique, is because, you know, you're cutting out all that, you've got all that light from the sun that has, you know, with the entire color spectrum in it. So when you cut it down in interesting ways, and I'll talk about how I did that, you get, it still thinks there's a little bit of blue in there. I don't dislike it. I take it back, I actually do dislike it. I like this one being just a little touch of gold, as if it's been like, you know, just like someone brushed, like it was in the oven and someone brushed it with a little bit of butter and egg, and it gave it a nice golden crust. That's doing nothing, and then magenta is almost definitely gonna do nothing, which it does. Okay, cool. Push the blues and brighten up. I don't really want to. I don't really need to play with the luminance at all, I don't think. It's like I could brighten up the edge, but that's not. That's just gonna make it look crusty in a way that I don't like, even though I just said I think it looks cool as a crust. All right. Let me come back up here. If I don't need the texture, if I take the texture down, what do I get? I actually like the texture. I like having the texture there. I think I'm gonna pull the clarity down just a touch, just to kind of give a little more of a softness to it, and then I'm gonna push the highlights a little bit, and that'll preserve the brightness. Doesn't look too bad, though. Actually, in hindsight, I like it better the first way. Again, artistic process. We make mistakes. Let's turn the clarity all the way up. I do like when that happens. That really fills out the edges there, which looks really nice and sharp. And then balance those highlights kind of right there. There we go. It gives us a nice bright area kind of on the inside edge, darkens it out, and we get some detail on the outside, and then you get the nice golden edge on there. So cool. I like this. I don't know if it's done. I'm gonna revisit it. But I'm gonna set it, do my rating of 2 stars that tells me not quite finished, gonna come back. But okay, there's our warm-up shot. We've gotten to take a look at the Eclipse. We've had some fun with it. Okay. Real quick, let's talk about this. Actually, I can talk about this photo. I can talk about the rainbow you see here as I get the other photos. Let me grab a quick thing out of my camera bag. I think you can still hear me as I'm off screen here. But, there we go. Okay. And we're back. So, cool. So we're going to talk about the spectrum of light here. And we're going to do this while we edit this photo, which I really like. I think this is cool. I think we got a really cool flare here that we're going to have a lot of fun with. Now, this photo, compared to the last one, if I check out what's underexposed, yeah, that whole, I guess I should be using the mouse, like this whole edge is underexposed, but around the sun, I've got stuff to work with, and that's what I want. So, let's see, so yeah, so you can see, we've got a little bit of that kind of, you know, half of this, or quarter of the sun has that, you know, looks like light's coming through a lot brighter. The way we did this, the way I did these photos is, I was, you know, let me grab my lens. So we can talk intelligently about this, and I really should have had these things ready beforehand, but okay, boom, lens. All right, so here's the lens I was shooting on. This is the Tamron 150 to 600. So big wildlife lens. Honestly, one of my favorite landscape lenses too. I really like how it what it does to a landscape. But the thing about shooting the sun is, and this is the thing that, you know, the reason everyone told you can't, you know, don't look directly at the sun, wear the glasses, and good advice, wear the glasses. Even with a camera with the aperture all the way, you'll notice, you look at my, you know, my notes over here. I'm at f/22. I'm at an 8,000th of a second. I'm at ISO 100. I am as far, like, my shots are as dark as they possibly can be. And still, without a filter on the lens, I'm getting, I don't know if I've got any shots that, I had one picture. There we go. So, without the filter, I get this. This is, like, even darkened down as much as it could, this is still the shot that I get. I'm going to keep this because I think there's some really weird stuff I can do with it once I kind of lean into some really bizarre editing on here. So we're going to come back to this photo tonight. Maybe we'll do it on another stream. Who knows? Anyway. So we're shooting, like, even with the lens, even with the camera settings all the way down, I'm still getting, it's still too bright. So What I have is a 10-stop ND filter. This is not specifically designed for eclipses. They make them that are I think 14 stops, but 10 stops is, like, if you really want to get the texture of the sun, a 14 stop or higher would be perfect for that. This guy, 10 stops, was good for what I wanted to do, which was good for letting in and seeing the details, but also letting in some light. The other thing you'll notice as I hold this up is here's how big the lens is, here's how big the filter is. Filter's a little small. Filter doesn't quite cover the whole thing, which gave me the opportunity to shoot with a little bit of, by holding the filter in front of the lens and slightly angling it or adjusting kind of where it was, I was able to let light in various ways, kind of around the edge of the filter, and that's how, that is what you're seeing with most of these photos today, is me letting little bits of light in as we go that give us little interesting flares in different ways. This one's a little kind of fully bright. Something like this is a little more, it's got a little, you can see the kind of the edge. You can see where the filter ended. And so that's why you have shots like this, where like this, let me see, like this little kind of, you got the thicker line here and then the thinner one. That thinner one, like that little couple of lines there, is the light reflecting off the edge of the filter, which is cool. So that's what most of these photos, that's where most of these photos come from. That's how we get, I'm hopefully going to have a good time going through all of these in a way that makes them, so we get to play with them in different ways. Also want to try seeing what some of these look like in black and white, but I'm also fairly certain that like pushing up the saturation and the colors on this is going to give us some really gorgeous shots of the sun. All right, so let's see what we can do here. Bring up the shadows is a good idea. Let's go ahead and crop first. Let's start with cropping. I want to turn off the. I don't want the grid. That tends to get in my way. This one actually does not feel like a 4x5. This one almost feels like a 1x1. Something like that, maybe. Ooh, you know what? It's a 1x1. It doesn't matter if I rotate it. Probably gonna rotate it in a sec. But let's go ahead and do something like this. Let's bring that down so it feels a little more symmetrical. Get it more or less centered. There we go. Something like that. I like that. And then I want to rotate it so we get a bit of a smile. There we go. We're gonna do a sun smile. Almost a little more of a sun smirk, actually, but we can live with that. All right, and once again, where's our exposure? It's there. Okay, so let's see. Clarity. Clarity's gonna give me some, a little more of that fog or that haze in the air, which I want. Dehaze is gonna do the same. I could go really aggressive with it. I want to go a little aggressive with it. I want to have a little bit of that kind of letting that craziness in. That's fun. Cool. Big fan. Texture. Texture is something I think I'll add later. We're getting a little bit of some interesting flares there. We got a little bit of dust on my lens, so I don't want to give that too much of a platform. I'm probably gonna go through and heal up a bunch of those once we're done with this. But let's see. Shadows. Yeah, I'm gonna bring up the shadows. I'm gonna bring down the blacks, so we get kind of a little more of that colored haze in there, a little more of that flare. And then let's play with saturation. If I do vibrance or if I do saturation. I think vibrance better. I think vibrance gives me a little more of a no, maybe not. Saturation actually might give me a little more to work with. Yeah, I think saturation's a better way to go. That's actually pretty interesting. In terms of color and lighting. I can bring the highlights up a little more, which is pretty sweet. There we go. A little bit of that. What else can we do with this? All right, let's do. Obviously, we've got a lot of noise in this, and I'm fine with that. I want to lean into that in a second. But let's see what kind of other colors we got. We got a little bit of red in there. Let's bring that up, kind of until it becomes a problem. Let's zoom in. A little bit of reds. A little bit of orange is gonna be a color that plays. Let's see what that looks like if I pull back a bit. Yeah, orange looks good. Let's bring up some yellows. Yellow's gonna be kind of all over the place. I think I want to keep yellows a little more a little more down. I think I've noticed that I love about orange and yellows working together is that they both kind of affect a lot of the same stuff, but there's always one that's a little more widespread and one that's a little more targeted, and I usually find myself liking the targeted one. Greens. We actually have some greens in here. Kind of up in this area. A little bit. Yeah, you can see a little bit in there. Let's keep the greens up. Let's see what our aquas are doing. We actually have some aqua in this photo. We have a tiny bit. Oh man, if you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you know aqua is like my favorite color to see get to shine in these things, and it's not really in this photo. Blues. Hey, there's some blue. Bring that up a little bit. Purples. A little bit. Not enough to really want to do much with. And magentas. Same deal. A little bit of them right in there. Okay, so that's a start. That actually is looking pretty good in terms of color. I want to play with luminance at all? I don't think I do. I think this is actually... I don't think I need to brighten the individual colors. That's weird, though. That's actually... See, this is why I do these streams. Is because I find moments like this. Like, that's just warped in a really fun way. Oh, that's tempting. Nah, red's got to be left alone. Actually, you know, I like that. I like that kind of a lot. Also need to bring the reds kind of up so they all sort of match. Yellows, no. Yellows I want to keep kind of where they are. Yellows are forming a nice bridge there. Greens, yeah, we can bring the greens up and not lose really anything. Aquas, again, not really unplayable. Bring them up. Blues, a little bit. If I do that, I'm able to push the blue color-wise, and that's, yeah, that actually looks pretty cool. Purples. Yeah, we'll bring them up to kind of the same level, and then magentas, same thing. We want it to all kind of feel like they're working together. Yeah, little rainbow in the details there. Okay, cool. We're off to a good start. Let's see. You know, the more I'm looking at, I'm gonna recrop this at the end. The more I'm looking at this, I'm not loving the. Let's rotate that back. I'm not loving the smile yet. I want to keep. Then again, I don't know. We're gonna come back to this. That's gonna be a last choice, and this is. Again, the artistic process doesn't actually have a set start and finish point. All right, let's do a little masking. Let's do some masking first. There's not a whole lot of opportunities to mask with some of these, but I like wanting to do it. And the other reason I start with a crop, and I'm like, here's what this might look good. And then I'm sitting, and then I'm thinking, and then I'm like, all right, now I'm changing stuff, and I'm finding new things, and that redefines what the image can be, and then I'm going to want to change the crop. All right. Let's do a color, no, not color range, not what I want. I want a luminance range. And luminance is just masking by brightness, and if this works well, I should be able to pretty much just get the sun. Yeah, because I just want the really, really, really bright stuff. I want to pull that back. Okay, I can work with that as a start. And now we're gonna go back to this mask. We're going to subtract. Try subtracting an object and see if I can get the sun here. Because the object selection brush is gonna make the stream lag a little bit, just a heads up. But is usually pretty decent at finding edges and getting the thing. And that's what we want here. So we're gonna let this work on that. Like I said, we're going to lag a little bit. I don't know if you can still... I need to watch back some of these streams and see if you can still hear me when it's lagging. Or if my audio is gets kind of janky. But we'll see what this gets. This is your cue to get a better computer. Working on that. Okay. That's not bad. Okay, cool. So if I invert that one and I turn off the luminance range, do I need to change it, convert this to add? I think I do. Convert to add. And invert again. Okay, better. Getting better. Luminance range is now doing us no good. Let's get rid of that, and let's subtract with a brush. We'll do this. Come in and do this by hand. Let's go ahead and bring up the feathering a little bit. Make sure our density is all the way up, and we're gonna go ahead and clean this up, just like that. Just to get the parts of this that are flare and not sun. funny. Like one of the photos, I was considering doing a non-sun photo for today, in addition to these, because I just did a really awesome photo shoot with one of my partners, where we were experimenting with interesting photos of her in her wheelchair, and I was considering editing one of those on stream as well as a little like just palette cleanser, but they are to get the masking right requires so many object selection that it would take 45 minutes just to get that done, and that's not what we're here for. Okay, so we've now done this. We've now got the sun selected, and if I wanted to like really brighten it up, I could. If I want to bring it down, like there's various things I could do. I don't though. Maybe I do. Let me come down and see what happens if I play with the clarity or the dehaze. Just working on the sun by itself. That does kind of lean into that kind of jokery smile it's got going on. Actually, the dehazing looks pretty good now I'm looking at it. Bring the shadows down a bit if I want to get some detail in it, but I really don't necessarily want to. Clarity down. Nah, clarity looks fine the way it is. Texture down. Let's leave that alone for now. But the thing I really want to do is duplicate and invert, and if you are a longtime viewer of the channel, take a shot whenever I say that. Because now I can reduce the noise. I can clean up some of this grain. Take the texture down. Take the clarity down if I want to. That's going to darken everything up. Let's keep that. Whoa, hey, that overdid it. Let's put that back where it was. Let's keep the texture up, actually. Let's keep the texture where it is, because giving me some of that color. I bring the sharpness down as well. That's going to help clean up and get rid of some of those that really intense blaze. And that's looking better. I think I want to brighten this a little bit. Bring those highlights up just a touch. Yeah, get a little more something going on in there. And I don't mind the grain that's in here. I really don't. It's kind of inevitable when you're shooting something like this, but I also really like letting it sort of be its own thing. Let me pull the blacks down just a bit. Maybe the shadows. Nah, shadows are overdoing it a bit. Actually, that's not. What I want to do is just sort of get those edges a little more. Those edges a little more something, but actually pulling the contrast down and brightening up, and ooh, I know how to crop this. Okay, I know what I'm doing. Okay, I love it. I love this. This moment is great. Okay, let's see. So I hadn't thought to do it this way, and I love that. This is what we're landing on. Okay, reset that. That's maybe a notch up, maybe like it. Yeah, just that. Let's set that. Let's put that to 2. Just need a little bit of brightness. Okay. Now we're going to come in and clean this up. Which means zooming in, and you can see, like, you saw all those like little like sunspots and dots and stuff that were in the haze before. Now we don't have them. By taking the texture down and reducing the noise and everything, we've cleaned that up, and now I can come through and just sort of heal some of the basics here. So we're just going to click one at a time and just sort of remove the main offenders of this the brightness. And then moments like this, and I like to remind people of this, is like this is another reason why you don't often get the whole, hey, here's a step-by-step playback of someone editing a photo for Instagram or whatever, is because a lot of the time you end up with like a lot of this process just takes a while, and you just sit and do it, and just every time you sit and do it, it takes a long time, and you're not making big changes. You were literally just cleaning up a photo, and that takes a while. And yeah, it's not super thrilling to watch, which is one of the reasons that I'm here to talk about it, and hopefully make things more interesting. And if I can't make it interesting by talking about the photo itself or the science behind it, I get to I can just like, I don't know, we can discuss Prometheus or something. And that's jury's out on whether I mean the Alien prequel or the actual Titan who brought fire to humans, or if I'm coming at it being kind of too cool for school and using that as a way to talk about Oppenheimer. But yeah, that's looking pretty good. These are fuzzy and therefore fine. Few dots in there that I'm not super worried about. Let's go back. Let's get this guy. Yeah, there we go. Let's pull this back. Let's close that. And yeah, I'm not noticing any egregious spots anymore, which is great. So cool. Now this thing's gonna want me to redo something, and I really don't care. Sure, I'll update. It wants the every time you clean the thing up, it always wants you to update it, and just in case you made changes that now affect its sort of artificial intelligence, for lack of a less tech bro douchey word. But yeah, it wants to double check and make sure you didn't change anything that would change its algorithm. It can do that. I would like it to not take as long as it's taking to do that, but it can do that if it wants to. That's whatever. I'm gonna start nibbling. This is taking longer than it did to actually get the object. There you go. It didn't change a thing. Okay, and you want the same thing, and this shouldn't take. Hopefully, it won't take as long because it's just an inverted version of the same thing, and maybe it'll realize that. And again, maybe it won't. We're gonna be stuck here discussing. Okay, so Prometheus has, like, I feel like Ridley Scott is like the kind of director or kind of like producer, because he doesn't really, as far as I know, he doesn't write a lot of his scripts. He just sort of, he makes the movie, like he produces it and like hires writers and then like tells them, hey, this is what I want the movie to be about, and then like, directs it. And I feel like that, I don't know, puts him at the, like, it's one of those things where I watch Prometheus and I'm like, this feels like, okay, this is a prequel to Alien, so like I'm seeing the Alien, like, yeah, so the Alien stuff is sort of in here, but also I'm also very much aware you were watching the History Channel and you were and you were kind of into the Ancient Aliens thing, because that's what you're doing, and it's like, I don't need this to be about that. I need, like, just like, we really didn't need an Ancient Aliens version of Alien. What we do need is this sort of butterfly thing going on, because I'm really a fan of that. I think that looks great. And that was I'm considering, like, I could change the angle of it to try to get that oriented correctly, but in order to do that, I'd have to kind of really do some aggressive cropping, and I don't think I want. I think I'd end up cutting off stuff. Potentially, I'm gonna give this one 2 stars. I'm really happy with how this looks. I think this looks really cool. As an interesting, like, the things you can find in just this is I guess my version of staring at the clouds and finding shapes. I'm finding butterflies in or moths in solar eclipses, which is cool. Give that 2 stars. The thing I might do, because again everything around this is black, this is the kind of photo I could drop into Photoshop and, like, put it on a black background and then be able to adjust it, just widening my canvas a little bit. Might do that. I'm gonna give this one 2 stars so I can think about coming back to that. But that looks really cool. I'm really happy with how that looks. This is fun. Okay, let's see what other solar eclipse photos we've got. That one is very similar to what we just did, so we're not gonna touch that. This one is a little more of is again similar to what we started with, so we're not going to touch that. Let's find some interesting flares. That one's okay. That one feels similar to this, which I don't want to jump onto yet. That's the other thing we could do. Looking back at this one. Now this one's good because it's got the color in it. I think this one's. I think I want to brighten up the sun. I think the sun can be a little brighter. Let's jump on that. Let's go ahead and bring up the highlights on it a little bit. It's a 21. Let's put that at 15. Give it a little bit of that. Can also bring the saturation down on just the sun, which gives it that nice white sliver. But also, if I keep the color up, it feels like it's a little more part of the image. I love these decisions, but also, darn it, makes it a challenge. This is staying at 2 stars. We're gonna move on. We're 42 minutes into this stream and I've edited 2 photos. All right, what else we got? That one's a little much. This one, same kind of thing, just kind of touching the edge. I want to see what this looks like if I do some just real rudimentary editing on it. If I crank the ooh, okay, you got my attention. That's There's something going on here that I think is... That's weird. How much information's here? Is this photo actually well exposed? That's not supposed to happen. Who let that happen? Let's see. Okay, no, there's some parts that are still underexposed to the point that we can't use it, but there's something kind of cool about just leaning into that brightness. And we may come back to that in a second, but let's play with this a little more. Remember the highlights. That's not a great idea yet. Remember the shadows. That's a little interesting, though it's not. Okay, this might be one we're going to do some interesting masking on from the start, which is cool because I love when I can showcase different techniques as I do this. Ooh, yeah, there's some of that rainbow. All right. I also kind of want to do this in black and white, but we're going to start with this. All right, let's see. So, a little bit of noise there on the moon. The moon. I keep saying the moon because it looks like the moon. It's the sun. That's the sun. That's just so cool. Like, pay attention. Get the science right because the science is bonkers. And just, it's so cool. You know this happens 5 times a year? Like, this is the thing. Like, that was a fun fact I learned recently is that there are 5 total solar eclipses on average per year. The problem is we're a planet that's 70% water, so they very rarely fall across things that it's usually over the water. So if anyone wants to charter a ship sometime to get out there, like, let me know. Count me in. I'll jump on that trip. Okay. Let's see. Let's try an object select. Let's see if that works because it went so well last time. I want the sun. Also, real quick thing. I'm gonna say, and I'll say this now, and I'll say it again, like at the end while this thing goes. If you looked at the Eclipse and if you got those like disposable like those cardboard glasses, I've got my pair right here. Somewhere. Oh, there. Okay. All right, that masking did an okay job. If you have the glasses, which also you will notice you can't see anything through because these are closer to that. Like, these are darker than my lens filter. Like, they make that big of a difference. But if you have these and don't have much use for them after the Eclipse, and don't think you'll be able to keep them like safe and remember where they are in 2044, there's an organization called Astronomers Without Borders. Think Doctors Without Borders, but for astronomers. They are collecting these things because in October South America is getting a total solar eclipse, and if we send these to Astronomers Without Borders, they will get them to underprivileged kids down there so they can have glasses to look at the eclipse. So that's a cool thing for us to do with these. Now that we're not using them, we can share the amazing experience we had by sending them to Astronomers Without Borders. So I will, after a day or two, I will put that link in the YouTube description, so it'll be there, and just we can know where to send these because that's just a cool thing to do. All right, let's see. What can I do? Let's subtract. Let's do a subtract luminance thing and just subtract everything that's not super bright, and we'll adjust. Here's we go. No, you're not gonna give me that? I'm trying to... Right now we're subtracting. There we go. That's what I want. Just bit. You're not okay. You're not letting me have that. Okay. Luminance range. You are not helping. I'm gonna go back and subtract with a brush. Okay. Here we go. Let's go ahead and turn the feathering way down because I don't need it for this. I'm gonna zoom it in about that much, and we're going to once again clean this up. Just sort of erase the stuff that's not explicitly part of the sun. A little close on that one, but we'll see. Go. And in terms of like pro tips for doing masking on photos, if you're brushing stuff like this, I'm not always the best follower of this rule, but it's really a good idea to do do a bunch of like small little brush strokes as opposed to trying to do it all in one big one, because if if you mess up and you have to undo something, it's easier to undo a small one than to try to have to go back and then redo everything. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's bring the feathering up a little bit. I feel like it's a little bit too sharp. Especially given that this is the sun and a fairly, we got this cloud around it, so it's a fairly inexact thing. There we go. That's not bad. Okay, cool. So now I've got a mask of the sun, and we're gonna do an invert, duplicate and invert, take a shot. So now I've got one of the reverse, and that's good. Okay. So now we can work on this area without messing up the brightness of the sun itself, and that looks cool. We need this cloud going on. I have no idea how I'm gonna crop this photo. This one's getting wild. Let's see. What does my phone need? Cool. All right. So let's continue working on this area that is outside the sun. I don't necessarily need to mess with the brightness. The brightness actually looks really good. What I want to mess with is color. Oh, look at the rainbow that's up in the cloud. Look at that. That's so cool. Okay. I still don't know how to crop this photo, but I'm really liking how that looks. Let's see. What can I do to lean into that? Give me that back. Come down to here. Cranking the dehaze is just gonna, whoa. Yeah, there's a balance there. All right. But taking it down a little bit actually really brightens that up, and oh, this is cool. Texture, no, texture's going down. Texture can actually stay where it is for now. We're gonna stick with that. I say this and then I play with it a little more because I'm never good at leaving well enough alone. Let's bring that down a bit. That looks good. I'm a fan of this. And we're gonna come back and play with some more colors and saturation as well. But we're gonna stick with that for now. Let's come down to our detail and let's go ahead and clean up the noise a bit. A lot, actually. Actually looks really good. Okay, never mind. I don't need to do anything else with that. Now I don't feel as bad if I want to push the texture a bit and get a little more of that color in there. That looks cool. I can't saturate anymore. I could bring up, if I bring up the highlights, it's too much. If I bring up the shadows. This is wild. This is just, See, this is the thing you don't get from, I have no idea how to crop this photo. Just gotta say that I have no clue how this photo is gonna get cropped because this is just such a sporadic composition. But this is something you don't get with, like, that, you know, really beautifully differentiates this kind of an eclipse shot of the sun from an eclipse shot of the moon, or it's even a shot of the moon, because you're playing with so much light. You've got so much light to play with that it becomes just a gorgeous thing to lean into. All right. And just a gorgeous, like, there's just a whole tapestry of stuff that you don't get to see the whole time, which is so cool. All right. And then could bring the blacks down a little bit, which would give me a little more contrast. I don't really want to. I kind of like how bonkers this is right now. That looks kind of awful. You know what? Let's put the shadows back and kind of let them be like that, because that's, yeah. There's a little bit of grain in there, but nothing that's really bothering me yet. I'll take the highlights down a little. Not much. Take the whites. Actually, I'll bring the whites down and then the highlights back up. Now that ends up looking worse. Let's go back to what we had. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. That's a good start. All right, let's work on the mask on just the sun itself, which will be pretty straightforward. I think I want to keep this. I want to have that, like, clear that one brighter section. Bring the clarity down on this. Bring the clarity up, and we'll work on smoothing it out. I don't want to dehaze this one. I want to actually bring the dehazing down. I don't know. I want to find that. I like that really bright kind of top of it. I want to keep that. Let me take the texture down. The textures need to be up for this one. Though it does give me some sharpness. Let's leave it alone. Let's not bring it all the way up. Is not like all the way down is not necessarily the opposite of all the way up. We can have a middle ground here. All right. Bring up the shadows a bit. That's helping. Turn the contrast down. There we go. Let's get me that smoother, still a little textured, but give me that smoother look that I was looking for, while still keeping the bright spot there. Let me do a quick peek at the before and after. Okay, working on it. One of these I'll only leave well enough alone to be happy with how the photo looks by itself. A little more brightness is a good thing. I think that's cool. Back to working on this one. Okay. I'm so confused on what to do with it. I got so many options on this one. Some color streaks up there. Let's lean into this rainbow that we got going on, because that looks really cool, and I want to give it a little bit of its due. Some greens hanging out in there. Hey, you actually got some aquas. Yay! Oh, that's making me happy. We got blues. We got blues for days. I don't want to lean too far into, because if we do that, we're going to end up making it too much of a thing, and we're gonna lose some of the other colors. Let's bring the blues down just a touch. Somewhere in the middle. Purples? Yeah, let's get some purples in there. And then magentas? Yeah, they're there. Let's bring them up a little bit. Push the reds a little more to get that magentas as well. Get that transition to look smooth. What's up with it? The magentas are too hot. Pull them down. Find the balance. There it is. That's not bad. All right. This is insane. This is so wild. All right. Color luminance, I don't really need to mess with, other than maybe bringing the yellows down. Yeah. Bringing the yellows down definitely helps. It gives us a little more oranges down. Ooh, actually, that also makes a good difference. That's pretty cool. Brightening up the blues is going to be also cool. I do not know how to edit this, how to crop this photo. This thing is getting weirder and weirder. And this one, I'm kind of just cranking the saturation in horrifying ways, which I don't necessarily love. All right. This photo needs to sit on the shelf for a bit. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and give this 2 stars, because I'm still working on it. And then we're going to do a thing I should have you guys taking shots for, but I don't. We're going to do a create virtual copy. So we now have a second version of this that's going to look better in a second. There it is. And I can go back to this first one. And I can scroll on back and effectively reset it to there. Because I want to do a black and white of this, because I think that, and just a little bit of haze. I think a little bit of haze on this one is really pretty. This one I'm going to do is a 4x5. And I'm going to hit X to switch it to a 5x4. I'm going to frame it up dead center, just like that. And we're going to do this one as a slightly more classy version of the photo, which will look cool. I don't know. Actually, you know, I'm going to bring the shadows up. Yeah, I'm going to bring the shadows up, and then I'm going to bring the blacks down just a touch, just to kind of maintain that contrast. If I dehaze, we start losing and gaining all kinds of things. Let's find the balance. Like that, a little bit of a. I feel like we're giving the sun like this cool, like, you know, puffy hairs. That's what I'm doing. I'm giving the sun the, like, History Channel's Aliens dude hair. That's what that looks like. That's just that guy's do. You know, the real alien was the sun the whole time. Honestly, I'm kind of here for that. All right, texture. I don't think texture makes much of a difference on this one. Kind of like having it there, but I don't know. I'm gonna leave it alone. Again, don't need to min-max that one. Okay, cool. What else do I want to do to this? Let's come down here to our black and white color sliders, because that's actually a thing that matters. And we can start playing with them little by little. Because it does matter how anything handles color. Looking like a crown, honestly. It's like a anybody ever know what a crowned crane looks like, where it's the peacock type of skinny neck and little head, and then it's got a big feathery pompadour on top. That's the vibe I'm getting off of this, and I'm okay with that. I'm actually a fan. Let's turn that down. Let's turn these down. Let's turn the reds down as well. Oh, the reds we're gonna keep as they are. Cool. That looks fun. What else can we do to this? What else do we need to do this? Is the other question. Okay, there's the higher contrast version, which is kind of leans a little harder into that crowned look, and I don't hate that. We're doing another copy of this. This is fun. This is so much fun. Okay, let's see. Let's do a low contrast version and get kind of that smoky look going. Yeah, let's bring that down. Bring the shadows back up. Let me try select subject. I haven't tried that yet. Let's see how that works. Sometimes that works really well. Sometimes that's like the select subject tool is designed for portraits. That's not bad. I can work with that for this. I don't actually need to clean this one up. I think I'm actually pretty happy with just select subject on this one. And then we're going to this one. I'm just going to invert. I don't necessarily need the front. I just need the back. We've already played with the shadows. I can play with the highlights to brighten that area up. I don't want to, because if I do that, I'm getting way too bright on the sun. No, I don't like that at all. I can bring the blacks up, but that's also just going to end up making the whole thing look not right. It just kind of, I'm trying to brighten areas where there is no light, and that's a problem. What I want to do, A, is take out the noise. B, I want to take down the texture and just let this kind of, again, now leave texture alone. Stop touching texture. Excuse me. Let's see. There we go. Bring up the clarity. That's giving me the kind of spacey sort of, nope, put that away. Kind of that fogginess to it, which I think is really cool. Let's bring the sharpness down. That might help smooth out some of these little hazier spots down there. And also kind of I gotta leave the texture alone. The texture's fine. Let me go back to just the main edit and bring the shadows down. Yeah, that's better. I don't need the two tails that were kind of sticking out the bottom there. We're not helping. Let's leave that alone. Let's put the shadows kind of back where they were. I'll put the blacks back where they were. But nah, I like a little bit more of that. I do kind of like that. I'm always a fan of just having some high contrast in there. Cool. That's looking pretty dope. Let's do a. I'm pretty much out of tea here, but duplicate and invert. The highlights down a little bit, so we're getting kind of cleaning up just very specifically what that's supposed to look like. And bring the shadows down so that again our brightest point is there, which it's a lot of different things that can draw the human eye in a photograph, but it's a fairly universal thing that our eyes are drawn to bright spots. Bring the contrast up a bit. Let's come down to here. This might be a spot to crank the texture. It is not. Put the texture away. Stop touching it. Someone lock that off from me. Should not be allowed to use it. Clarity. Nah, leave that alone. Dehaze. Nah, dehaze is a blunt object at this point. Yeah. Let's see. That's better. Cranking that up a little bit. Let's go back down. Let's come down here to denoise and just sort of push that a little bit. It's a little bit, I like to smooth that out a tiny bit. still pretty noisy. Yeah, the texture down smooths it out. Does that change anything else about the photo, though? No, okay, that's fine. We'll do that. Yeah, that's... The other thing it looks like is it looks like the sun is wearing a chef's hat. Sun's getting out there, baking cookies and stuff. I'm a fan. I'm all here for Chef Sun. That crop was bad. Let's put that back. It's better the way it was. Yeah, that's good. I need to clean up some of these spots here, but yeah, this is better. I like where this is going. Cool. Okay, probably gonna have time to do one more photo after this, because I'm trying to kind of pop out of here at 6:30. So see if we can do one more photo edit once I kind of get all these spots cleaned up. I can talk about where these spots come from. There's several different things, and it's always kind of hard to tell when you're taking photographs of the sun, because you're gonna get some interesting lens flares, you're gonna get some interesting anomalies. There's a bunch of different reasons why you could get some weird stuff happening with the sun. But the main reason we get these little dots, and here's the thing, I guarantee almost every photographer whose photos you're seeing on Instagram or on Vero or on whatever app you're on, has done cleanup like this. Like, it's a really simple tool. It's good that we have it. If you are a photographer and you're not getting constantly harassed by ads for Topaz Labs, which is the specifically like noise and like dust cleanup AI driven software, which they didn't start advertising as, like, they've been advertising for years, and it's only recently they've started advertising it as AI. I wonder what that's about. But yeah, if you didn't have to, if you're wondering, does this happen with other photographers? Almost all of us do it. But what this is there we go. Cool. Now we're gonna come back to this mask, because this mask is going to be a little bit pretentious, and I'm gonna let it do its thing. But anyway, so what you're seeing there with those dots is a couple different options. Could be, in this case, because I also have a filter on the lens, it could be dust on my filter, which there is a little bit of. There could be dust on the lens itself. Can happen. Could also be, the other thing it could be is dust on my camera's sensor, like back, where in the camera body itself. And usually you can't see that. Usually that's the kind of, usually that is because you've got your lens and your focal point, you're close, if you focused as close as you possibly could, usually that's out here. You can't, your focal point is almost never going to be inside the lens. You're focusing on something in front of the lens. Even the closest thing you can focus on is still going to be in front of the lens. And this one, I think the minimum focus distance on this one is 2.5 meters. So we're talking 2.2 meters. So we're talking 6 feet 8 inches, out away from this thing. But your minimum focus point is here, and your camera's over here. But because my f-stop was so high, that widens my depth of field to the point that my depth of field not only focus, it gets the thing in focus, but it also it widens far enough back that stuff that's on the sensor can show up. That's how that happens. So if you're seeing that dust and you're wondering what it's from, that's your answer. This photo was excellent. I love this photo. Yeah, that's classy. 3 stars. Excellent work. I compliment myself. I'm happy. This is go me. I'm happy. Take those moments of dopamine and celebrate the hell out of them. Okay, let's see. We've done enough of the ones where the sun is we're kind of getting an edge of the sun. Let's come up with something more interesting to work with. Let's see. This one's pretty cool. I like that one. It's a little close to this one, which is still, that's just so pretty. I can't get over how good that one looks. This one's close to that, but also still looks kind of cool. What else we got? Also, real quick, if I come back to this guy here, come Can I do a before and after on this one? Yeah, that's the before and after on what this one looks like. So again, like a lot of a lot of cool stuff we got to do to pull out that beautiful rainbow that's in it. Oh, let's see what else we got. It's a little much. It was letting a little too much light in, not letting any light in. Again, catching the edge of it is cool, but I don't want to. We've done that. We've done that a couple times. Again, catching the edge, catching the back edge, which is a little different. That's kind of interesting. I'm gonna give this one 1 star as one to come back to. I really like that one. I don't think I want to do it right now. This one too, also 1 star, and I'm kind of adjusting where that filter was to give me a little bit of something. Oh, fun fact: this black dot there, I believe that's actually on the sun. I don't think that's on my lens because it moves with the sun. It's in the same spot depending on my framing. We found a little black dot on the sun. That one's also gonna be cool to edit. It's not quite the one for today. Let's see. This one I've highlighted because I think if I dehaze this a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff in the shadows. Ooh, that's an interesting little halo around that. Okay. Come back to that one. This one might be worth diving into. What else we got? Same deal here. Bring up the shadows, bring up the dehaze, bring down the dehaze. There's something interesting. Like if I do this one as a 1-to-1 and push that over and kind of pull this in so we get that. There's something kind of dope about that. Don't think it's the one to work on right now, but it's getting its 1 star. These settings are all getting reset, so I can come back to them. But yeah, that's getting its thing. Did stuff like that. We've done this one. Did that one. We've done them like this. This is just insane. I'll work on that later. I wonder if I take the exposure down on that one, now that I'm curious. Okay. Here's the degree to which how much of this thing is overexposed. Some of this has to be. Are you kidding me? There we go. Okay. So interesting. So if I bring the highlights down, I can get to a point where there is nothing overexposed, and all of this is workable. That's pretty sweet, actually. That makes me very happy. I got a few more to click through just to see what we like. That one might be a 1. That one's also pretty cool. I think, I think it's that first one. Let's do this one. This will be cool. All right, let's work it. All right. So yeah, because we've not only got like we've got a rainbow in a circle right there. That's gorgeous. That's what we got. Oh yeah, it's gonna be great. Okay, resetting. Here we go. We got 20 minutes. Let's do it. All right, cropping this. By 5 maybe. That looks cool. I'm actually liking that a lot. Let's work on this. Let's work on it this way. Sweet. A little extra black. There we go. This is going to turn into like a reflection on a lake. Yeah, that's how we're going to do it. Okay, we're gonna do a separate mask for that because I want these to be separate for the moment. Highlights and shadows. Leave it alone. Okay. Texture. Stop touching the texture. Texture's fine. Leave it alone. Clarity is also kind of wild, but in a good way. And then dehaze is going to darken, but also saturate, and then go the other direction. It's going to brighten and do nothing. Okay. All right. Definitely want to mask this one first. Give me a subject. Ooh, yeah. Love a good neck crack on stream. I'm just gonna. I know I'm gonna do it. I know I'm gonna do a duplicate. So let's just drink this. That is potent. Okay, cool. All right. Do I want that little extra edge there? I don't even actually kind of do. Let's keep that for now. But actually, you know, let's do this. Let's invert this one, and work on everything else down here. We'll do that, and then we'll see if we decide we want that bright spot back in there or not. Right, let's swing back down here to color because I need to play with the color on this one first. You know, we got some blues in there. Hell yeah. Got a little bit of aqua. A little bit. Just a touch. Let's put it in there. Greens. Again, a little bit of green. Happy about that. Orange. Yeah, a little bit of that. Or that's a yellow. Orange. Hey, there's the orange. Reds. We got almost a perfect rainbow spectrum in here. Purples and magentas. Fill it in. That looks cool. That's... Oh, this is... I'm giddy. I'm like a kid. This is great. Go with that. It's a little potent on the oranges. Let's bring those down a bit. Yeah, there we go. That's looking cool. Let's push the blues a little more. I don't want to brighten any of these up. Something really cool about the way this kind of looks like a flashlight reflecting through a prism of some kind. I'm very here for this. This is so cool. Okay, aquas and greens. Let's leave it. Okay, cool. Let's go back up to our saturation. Let's push that a little bit more. I'm going to oversaturate this kind of intentionally. No, put that back. I will oversaturate in the mask. Back into our mask and saturate up. That's too much, but that's okay. Now I can find a balance. That is too much. Let's go back to the way to doing it kind of across the thing. I think that's a better, yeah, that's a much better saturation. I'm not sure why it looks as bad as it does in the masking. Let's go with that. That looks cooler. Let's see what's next. Let's go back to our masks. Back to here. Take that texture. This one I can't. Let's lean into this being harsh. Let's lean into the texture. Let's put the dehaze kind of back. Put the dehaze back. Editing the texture. There we go. Cool. Let's see. We can take the noise out. I think that's still a good idea. That'll soften it up. Sharpness down. Sharpness tends to affect it a little more than I want it to. Let's leave that alone. Yeah, I like the swirling cosmos you kind of get in this, and that makes me really happy. Can I adjust my angle at all here? No, I can't. I can push this a bit. I don't want to. I want to keep it like this, and I'm probably going to vignette this. I'm actually going to go ahead and vignette this a little bit right now. Where's my vignetting? There it is. We're just going to... Nope. Just a littlest bit. Just to kind of darken this one edge over here. You know what? Take it back. I'm going to do that with a separate mask. Because I don't want to lose the purple down here. Actually, I really like that purple. All right. Let's see. Back to our mask. Anything going on here that I want to play with? Shadows up. I could. I don't think I need to. Whites. No. Maybe a touch. Maybe just a bit. Just a little bit of a brightness. I could bring the blacks down, and that's going to give me a little more of a saturation, but I don't know. I kind of like this. I think I'm pretty happy with how that looks. Let's see. Do some wild color swings if we want to really play, but that loses the rainbow and loses the nuance. Let's leave it alone. Yeah, okay, happy with that. Let's do a duplicate and invert. And just get that guy. All right. Well, that's interesting. If I pull the highlights down, we find that sunspot again. There's definitely a spot on that sun. Should get that checked out. Alright, clarity. Doesn't really do much one way. If I push it really hard, if I get rid of it, I get a weird effect down there at the bottom. I don't really like that. It draws my eye in a way I don't like. Let's leave it alone. Crank it up. Doesn't really make a difference. Texture. Nah, just kind of actually bringing the texture down is probably a better way to go, because it's not like the edge is getting a whole lot softer, but it is softening the kind of edge down here, which I like. I think that's important. Dehaze. What does dehaze do? Dehaze gives me that crust on the edge of it again, which I'm not in love with. The mom really likes this is just yeah, going with my gut, I think I prefer this to be the sun itself to be sort of desaturated. So yeah, just in the shadows does nothing, just in the whites it's gonna get really bright, but in a good way. But I can also do that with the highlights and it won't be as quite as blown out, I don't think, because I like having a little tiny bit of texture there, a little bit of an edge. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Do I want to do another mask just to continually affect? You know, let's try this. Let's do another mask. Let's do a linear gradient here. We're gonna get just our cloud, because we do actually have a pretty harsh line there. We'll do that, and then we will crank the texture and crank the clarity a little more. Ooh. Crank the dehaze? No, that's too much. That's way too much. I just want to get a little more chaos in there, honestly. I'm on the fence about keeping that. I'm going to leave that alone for now. Let's see. Yeah, happy with that. As far as I can. Let me try some. I'm gonna add with a brush. I'm just gonna add to the outside of this, because you're not going to be able to tell because everything else around it is dark. But that might let me get kind of this golden edge off of it that I'm not super fan of. Go ahead and turn. So zoom in here. Does that make a difference? Very slightly. All right, very tiny adjustment. We're going to keep that. That's fine. Let's clean up some dots. Click. Good amount. No, serious number of dots to clean up in here. It's because I leaned into texture. It's one of the other things about, like, the reason I do this is like my last step, even though my masking process doesn't like it, is that a lot of the time by lowering the texture or by adjusting the either the texture or the noise reduction or the sharpness, various different things, clarity too, you can clean up a lot of this and it won't be a problem. In this case, it is a problem because I'm leaning into the texture and letting this be aggressive, and that's fine. Just means I gotta spend a little more time doing this. Anybody else have "Hey Mickey" stuck in their head? No, just me? Okay. It's usually just me. Alright. It's a few spots I'm sure I'm missing, but it's actually not bad. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for enough that it feels... Oh, there's a couple down there at the bottom. Looking for the ones that stand out, like that. and that one. And close. Better. So much better already. And now this thing wants to update its mask, so we'll let it do that real fast. Cracking my knuckles. Nice. Alright. And this one too. Yeah. Go ahead and update, doesn't change a thing. Cool. Alright. I'm going to give this one 2 stars as well. I think there's a little more I can do with it. Can I change that crop a little bit? If I was to push this in like that. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit of manipulation here because I think it makes the photo better. Let's see. Let's go back to what we just had. We just had a slightly wider version. We're gonna do that. Cool. Come back to here. I'm gonna do a new mask, linear gradient. We're gonna grab just the lower corner down here in a sort of softer way, just like that. And we're gonna push this toward purple. I'm gonna pull the saturation back so it matches. There we go. Hang on, let me work on that one more time. Your gradient, let's widen it up, angle it a little more like that. Actually, the angling is not making much of a difference because it's only certain areas being affected. Now we're going to subtract with a brush. Turn the feathering way up, flow way up, of course. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sort of casually get that edge a little bit rougher. Just because in nature you don't get straight lines. And so a straight line in this would not be great. I haven't been said, I think I like it better without the brush. I think that line's a little too straight. Hey Jen! Welcome to the stream. Subtract, brush. I'm gonna bring my flow down a little bit. Flow, by the way, if you're curious, is if you imagine this as an actual physical paintbrush, it's basically just the amount of paint on the brush. So if I bring the flow down to 75%, now I'm brushing off 75% of this without, brushing off 75% as opposed to 100%. And if I go over it multiple times, I'll be brushing off more and more. That edge is still bothering me. Let's go back to the brush. Let's clear that up a little bit. There we go. A little bit less. Let's clean it up like that. There we go. And let's get this corner a little more. I think that's better. I'll work on that. Still 2 stars. But yeah, I like how that photo came out. I think that's unique and cool, and just, again, seeing the eclipse in a way you wouldn't, and seeing, like, you know, shots of a crescent in the sky in a way that you wouldn't, because you don't, you know, the moon does not give you this amount of light. So cool. All right. So let me go ahead and filter these by rating, so we can take a look at some of the ones we edited. I'm going to filter these by 2 stars. So yeah, so we worked on this one, obviously right at the end there. We did this one at the beginning. Might come back to it. That one's just, I don't know. Let's see where that one goes. This one's is our classic starter. We started with that one. This one, our gorgeous, like, moon with a crown on, which I think is really cool. I'm actually got an idea. This is why I tend to, let's see, I want this mask. Yeah. Actually, no, I just want a new mask with a brush. Turn the flow back all the way up to almost 100, and I want to brush in here, and I want to brush in right around here, and just this area, and I want to turn the blacks down. Actually, maybe just the shadows. Shadows might be enough just to darken that. Darken those edges up a little bit. A little more definition to it. That's better. Maybe a little more over there. again, that one looks great. Next one is this one that I do not. That's the other version of that. I still know what to do with it, so that one's gonna hang out until we come up with a plan. This one, once it clicks in, that one I really love. That's our butterfly. And yeah, that's the collection for today. So, thank you for joining me on this little adventure. In terms of editing these gorgeous shots of the eclipse and trying to, again, find new ways to show, like, as opposed to like taking the classic photos that everyone expects, finding new and interesting ways to take photographs of the amazing world around us, because not just is the world amazing and there's so many cool things to find and to see, but also the way we tell stories about them, whether it's with pen and paper or with a brush or with a lens, that also makes a huge difference. So this has been my little dipping my toe into that world. I'm gonna go ahead and bring this back to just the full screen on me. Yeah, so thank you for joining on this. It really does mean the world that I get to share this and get to have, some of you spend your time with me. Additionally, again, if you are interested in supporting me, supporting my work, supporting any of the the photos and the cool places I've got that you've seen me go, please go to my website, erichackler.com/photography, or Instagram @twistedinnature. And you can find my work there if you want to order a print, if you want to book a photo session. At some point, we need to do some portrait editing on here so we can talk about the kind of portrait shoots I do. Also, you can buy postcards. Those are still around. They're great. You can get them kind of specific that there's only one location that you want. You can get a set of 5 of those, or you can get kind of a mix back and you get a random assortment. And these are, by the way, Antelope Canyon, Glacier Bay National Park, Natural Bridge in Virginia, and Dream Lake in Rocky Mountain National Park. So kind of going across the country and just enjoying some of the highlights. So those are available. And finally, there will be a link down below. Astronomers Without Borders, send them your eclipse glasses so that when the total eclipse rolls around in October in South America, a bunch of kids who would not have been able to have glasses to see it will have them from that. So, Astronomers Without Borders, link down below. EricHackler.com, link down below. And in the meantime, thank you. This has been awesome. Please have an amazing rest. There's the button. Have an amazing rest of your day. Have an amazing time doing whatever awesome thing you're doing. It means the world that you spend an hour or so with me, and we will do this again soon. I'm not sure if we'll do some photos. Maybe we'll do some film editing. It's been a little while since I've done that. I got some cool projects coming up on the film front that'll be fun to edit on stream. So we'll see where we go. But in the meantime, stay safe, be well, and keep making awesome things, because we're awesome creatures living in an awesome world, and we should celebrate that. And the more we celebrate how awesome the world is and the beauty of it, and the more connected we are to the world, the more connected we can be to each other, and the more connected we are to each other, the more beautiful a world we create. So, with that said, be safe, be well, and get out there and enjoy the beauty. See you later.